What's up, everybody? Another last minute live here in my Lawyer merch that is so perfect for Cali. We've made our way across the nation here with merch. I brought some for my buddy here, so it's going to be a staple in LA. If you see it in the streets, you know where it came from. And we are here to do something we've done so many times on this channel before, and that is read yet another letter from our girl, Sarah Boone, who I was just commending for saying, listen, she hasn't bothered this judge. She hasn't publicly demeaned and complained about her newest court-appointed lawyer, number 7, Mr. Hobson, who seems like he's working hard for her, getting through the discovery, trying to find another defense for her, trying to get more money for her defense, an expert to really beef up this case and give her the best defense possible. And the words didn't leave my lips before people start sending me yet another letter. And with a letter from Sarah Boone comes, of course, complaints about her lawyer, complaints about our judicial system. I've been trying to take these as seriously as possible. I fight for people to have a fair and equal justice and due process under the law and effective counsel. I just want what's best for every citizen in the United States of America. But it's getting harder and harder with every letter that's written. So hit that like button if you guys haven't already. And let's jump in to yet another Sarah Boone video. Here we go. Oh, people were saying, or John just texted me and said recovery addict is talking about Sarah Boone's letter too. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I actually came on to record a different video to play later about Koberger and some stuff that's going on there that we'll save for another day. But when you guys sent me this, I was like, all right, I got to do it. I got to talk Sarah Boone. Here it is. We're going to read 9 pages from January 19th. So it was almost like while I was talking about it before, she was drafting this letter. The Honorable Judge Kranick, finally, a new judge. She's excited about that. It's strange how the Lord works, as I was in the process of trying to disqualify Wooten after being my judge 4 years and me still incarcerated with nothing to show. I don't think it matters or would have mattered who her judge was, by the way. I think she would still be incarcerated 4 years later. By the way, first time I'm reading this with you together. That's how I like to do it. I heard there was a lawyer complaint. Okay, so we'll see what it actually is. Other than 7 different attorneys, again, not by choice, news clips of me walking in and out of the courtroom, and everything relative to my case permitted to be slathered on the global internet and in which I have not seen myself. I felt he was the ticket holder to my overly hyped, illicitly distributed, misconstrued criminal, there's nothing in quotations needed about her criminal case. It's definitely a criminal case. And great reason I am still here. So it's the judge's fault now. We have complaints about the judges, complaints about the lawyers. It's definitely not Sarah Boone's fault. Again, ongoing 4 years and 7 attorneys later, not by choice. See my letter drafted 6/29/23 on the clerk's website. Please review my other letters, Judge. You're going to need to know them as a foundation for my current complaints, while still waiting to properly elucidate the court. Excuse me. She's showing us just how intelligent she is. Usually she just tells us, but now she is using big words as well. RA sent us here. So Recovery Addict is sending a lot of people here. Another live. When does he have time to vacation? Just in between these lives. They went to get some acai bowls or something and stayed back, hang with you guys for a little bit. Roddy Lover Thanks for gifting the memberships today. It's always a good live because there's always memberships gifting. The public and the world. And after whatever the dysfunction was in the attendance part of my most recent pretrial conference / status hearing, which I am trying to ensure my automatic attendance futuristically. Please see my draft motion included. I am still trying to have my attorneys submit on my behalf. We're going to read that draft motion. And again, if you're represented by counsel, you're not allowed to draft and file motions on your own because you're not pro se. I wanted to bring to your judicial attention the following information so you and the world, so she's writing to us now. She knows the world is watching and reading. So you and the world, that's who she's writing to. Where am I? You and the world are aware it is not I, not Sarah Boone, who has ever delayed trial, as Wooten inappropriately accused me of doing in a past hearing, especially now that you have mandated a trial date to be had in May with no further continuances. Yeah, we'll see. Leaving less than 4 months to put together and complete what should and could have been done already. What happened in all the 4 years prior. Please see all my correspondence in the file online. To date, Winston E. Hobson, which is her new lawyer, has been my court-appointed attorney for 133 days and counting. To date, Mr. Hobson has met with me one time for a total of 3 hours. Okay? So 133 days, that's including, because it happened on, he's been on her case through, I think, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. Okay? So that's 4 holidays in 133 days. We also know he's filed multiple motions, had a hearing, got a trial date, working on getting more funding, working on getting an expert, and he has met with her for 3 hours. To me, it's not the best, right? We'd like to at least have them meeting with Sarah Boone at least once a month, I think would be fair. At least a phone call once a month, I think would be fair. But we're not quite to the level of the other lawyers that she's complained about, yet here she is. To date, no phone calls have been received by Mr. Hobson, as his phone does not work properly. For further immediate, much-needed communications to be made between client and attorney. It's amazing that she seems to find lawyers whose phones do not work. I don't know a single lawyer personally whose phone doesn't work. Do any of you guys know lawyers whose phone doesn't work? Any of my lawyers in the chat? I know we have lawyers in the chat always. Does your phone ever not work? Sometimes I wish my phone didn't work, right? It never stops going off. I know my wife wishes it didn't work sometimes. To date, I have mailed 5 letters to Mr. Hobson trying to communicate my urgent need to speak to him. To date, I sent 1 letter to the investigator in my case to contact Hobson, to contact me, and see if he can assist in correcting the phone problem. Also, to inquire when anyone is coming. So it is weird to think that they're filing these motions, making these arguments on Sarah Boone's behalf, and they're not talking to her. I don't love that. To date, I feel I am not being included or heard or cared about in my case, again, from the continued Wisconsin miscommunication, again, with Mr. Hobson. And time-consuming, undiscussed entries are being made on my behalf. The continuance I did not know about. The waiver of appearance I did not know about, along with other documents. And I am never sent copies of anything filed, so I know. I keep trying to tell him about, with no response, furthering the already massive dysfunction in my 4-year case. So that is frustrating, right? Like, you should know, we all know, and she's not our client, we all know that she wants to be at the hearings. She wants a copy of the documents. And while some people may think that's annoying, that a lot of clients are like that. And you just got to do it. It's part of being a lawyer. Just give her copies of her documents. Make sure she's included on the hearings. The jail's the one that makes it sound like he's got to go pick her up. Let her show up. But it is a little bit of a frustrating situation, especially if I'm the judge reading this. It's like, why are you waiving her appearance and not telling her? Why are you waiving your appearance? Why are you giving continuances without telling her? These are things you guys should communicate with each other about. I was hoping In the pretrial status hearing on Tuesday, 1/16/24, I could at least play catch up in the courtroom. Nobody wants that. For 5 minutes. So many of my attorneys have done prior, including Mr. Hobson, the one court date I've had for a continuance, 10/30/23, to express and emphasize the need for him to communicate and schedule a second, very overdue meeting. I still have not even heard from Mr. Hobson about our missed pretrial conference / status hearing. What's the status? To date, out of 133 days and counting, attorney and his client have met one time. To date, 3 of now 3,192 hours, attorney and client have discussed potential general case information. To date, I still have not seen my discovery. So again, over dramatizing it a bit, but also I understand her frustration. I do. McSpunky, thanks for gifting 5 memberships. Your Honor, when is the next status hearing, please? Especially since we were not at the last pretrial conference status hearing, and especially since I am trying to communicate with my attorney in more than one way to fully maximize and utilize the minute amount of time allotted before trial. My fair, appropriate, lawful trial. Her verbiage sometimes is just really great. I still am wondering why, though I've had to wait for 4 years for something to finally happen in my case, ask Judge Wooten. I wonder also, was I the oldest case on his docket? Doubt it. Highly, highly doubt it. That's like me telling the judge. It's like, Judge, we've got to be the oldest case ready for this trial. He's like, let me do you one better, Mr. Tragos. The oldest date is from 2014 and has already been mistried once. It's like, great. Either way, I'm still here waiting potentially and very excited to get this highly anticipated show on the road. I await your overdue, so now it says overdue, this new judge, and very needed judicial direction, supervision, intervention. Thank you in advance, Judge Kranick. Welcome. Welcome to the show, Judge. Here's the issue. This is not the judge's job. The judge's job is not to mediate between attorney and client. It's not to rule on motions filed by clients that are represented by counsel. There are all sorts of issues with that. And so we're about to read a draft motion drafted by Sarah Boone that she wants the judge to look at and rule on, things like that. He ain't going to do that. So here we go. She even puts a little case heading on it. She's learned that. Motion to be included in and allowed, admitted to all defendants' pretrial conferences and hearings. Comes now, defendant Sarah Boone, buy-in through her undersigned attorney. It's not buy-in through her undersigned attorney, which is funny. It's like, here comes now Sarah Boone, buy-in through her undersigned accountant. It's like, not if you're writing it. It's buy-in through you, not buy-in through your undersigned accountant. You cannot file motions on your attorney's behalf with his bar card and license on the line if you do something wrong or screw up or get sanctioned or whatever. It's not how it works. It's the other way around. Respectfully request permittance to attend all my pretrial conferences and hearings ongoing until the conclusion of my criminal case. Per this rule, the following is stated to lawfully allow my inclusion, participation and requested admittance. The trial court may hold one or more pretrial conferences to consider such matters as will promote a fair and expeditious trial. The defendant, it's hard to read this, must be present at any pretrial conference unless the defendant's presence is waived in writing or on the record by the defendant or by the defendant's counsel with the defendant's consent. So what's interesting about this, a lot of times in the beginning of cases, certain cases, we'll file a waiver of appearance for clients so they don't have to come to everything if they don't need to. But if clients want to come, we always let them come. It's their case. They should be there if they really want to be there. A lot of people saying it's time for her to go pro se. She needs to be her own lawyer. I never agree with that, but I'm starting to open myself up to the idea that you guys might be right, because this is a little frustrating. Pinky said, how can he file on her behalf without her input? I'm confused. He shouldn't. He should not waive her appearance and say she's not going to be there if he hasn't discussed that with her. P. Lola's mom. How many years can she stay locked up without a trial? Until everybody's ready, until she can get a proper defense, competent counsel, someone on the case more than 5 minutes that she's not complaining about and calling incompetent and opening up appellate issues. She's waived her right to a speedy trial, unfortunately. So if hopefully in May, this will all get done and this will all get worked out and everybody will get ready and we'll just be full speed ahead. Max Sauce, miss the lawyer you know, fam. Your insights are invaluable, Peter. Max Sauce, your insights are also so valuable to the channel, and we're pumped you're here. Peter, do you think anything she's been saying is true? I think some of it probably is true because it will be verifiable to show the other side, and I would expect the lawyer to do that. Bankowitz never did it. We'll see if Hobson does. I'm sure she can be annoying, but why would all these lawyers not be acting as a zealous advocate for her, or is she lying, exaggerating? Let's just say this, there are much worse cases like Shabusiness or Letitia Stalk, and they didn't have this kind of problem that Sarah Boone is having. So it is a little interesting here. All right, let's keep reading this draft motion. In support, the defendant alleges as follows. The pretrial conferences are for my personal individual criminal case. If professional YouTubers, news channels, court TV, etc., are given permission and allowed entry to the courtroom for viewing, and the judge also is allowing the conferences to be streamed live with all the court minutes uploaded to the internet and world, I, the defendant, should be included foremost. I may not have regular, consistent updates or communication with my court-appointed attorney, and by attendance, all pretrial conferences and hearings, I will know current status, important dates, casework being completed, changes in parties, timeframes, expectations, all pertinent information I, the defendant, have a right to know. I want and need to regarding my case. All information is important, received, and necessary to me. I am not consistently included in the certificates of service and sent copies of my documents being filed in the court regarding my case as requested numerous times by the defendant in writing and verbally in the courtroom. She's going like first person and third person, switching back and forth. Either by the judge, the court attorneys. By attending my pretrial conference, I will know what documents have been filed, need to be, and will be for and in my case. Another way I can know what is going on in my case and being worked on. In complete overall support, it is my right by law as an individual, defendant, and inmate to be included in any and all developments made in my case. It is also my right to finally achieve success in any and every aspect possible in my case. By attending and being included in my pretrial conference and hearings, said success can and will be accomplished fairly, faster, probably. Vicky, bet the Crumley's attorney's phone doesn't work. If it does, it shouldn't. Oh, man. I know it's going to be interesting when I look into that. Dr. Barry, would they have to do a competence hearing first? Also, I don't think she wants to represent herself. I think she wants to blame someone else. Yeah, it doesn't seem like she wants to represent herself. Right now, nothing has been said or done to make anybody think she's incompetent, legally incompetent. Paige, can she file anything against him for waiving her right without her consent? So if she has signed a written waiver of appearance in the past, sometimes that's good, and that's the problem. But the judge could reprimand him or talk to him if he's waiving her appearance without letting her know. Absolutely. It's not what we're supposed to do. Lori, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. In complete overall support, it is my right by law as an individual defendant and inmate to be included in any and all developments made in my case. None of these are horrible asks, right? Getting her documents, her discovery, talking to her lawyer, being at her pretrials, and being involved in her own case. That's a fair ask. She should get that. We should make that happen. And being included in my pretrial conferences and hearings, said success can and will be accomplished fairly, fast, or properly. Sorry, I already read that. Wherefore, the defendant Sarah Boone respectfully asks the honorable court to grant my motion to be included going forward to all defendants' pretrial conferences and hearings. Sarah Boone, certificate of service. I mean, she's learning, right? She's looking at something. She's definitely got enough documents in the past in her case to see how this is done and what it's supposed to look like. And this is her best effort at it. Maria, Peter would love to hear your thoughts on the Crumbly trial, especially on the defense attorney. I haven't had a chance to watch all of it yet. I do have a lot of thoughts, but that's probably coming next week, would be my guess. Does anybody know how long that's supposed to last? I would assume it's not going to finish anytime soon, but I don't know. Terry, Peter, didn't you say you were surprised she was at her last pretrial? She was not at her last pretrial, and I think I did say I was surprised that she was not there. Because I know, I'm not her lawyer, but I know she wants to be there. And if she was my client, I'd have her there. It's not that hard to let her show up. You can appear by Zoom as the lawyer. Let her show up. Teresa, Peter, how does she know what's going on with YouTubers and online? Thanks. My guess would be her friends on the outside are watching these, telling her about them, which is fine. They're allowed to do that. They're absolutely allowed to do that. And I understand why she'd be frustrated if I'm reading a document that she doesn't get to read. That is frustrating and unfair. She should get to read it. Jenny, how much access does she get to computers and internet? Any. She could get some potentially. It's different with every jail. So I don't know exactly what her setup is. Could these letters be used against her during trial? Yes, but I don't think she's said a ton that's going to be used against her by the state. She hasn't made a lot of admissions, just a lot of complaints, and they're not going to it have to be relevant to the case and the charges. So if she said, I only zipped him up there to get a good laugh, that could be used against her. But to say my lawyer's not contacting or talking to me, that's not going to come in. That's not relevant to this case. Azam, I have to leave now. We are having an assembly. I will join the Rewatch crew later. Take care, Chad. Enjoy your vacation, Peter. Thank you, Azam. Thanks for popping in. Enjoy your assembly. Susie Hatt, will you be covering the Delphi case and Judge Gold's latest questionable decisions? If you already did, I missed it. Thanks for all you do. So yes, I did cover that. I talked about her blanket denial, basically, of all those motions. So check out our Delphi or Richard Allen. I don't know what the playlist is called. Maybe John could throw it in the chat. See some people asking where you can get this shirt. LawyerYouKnow.com is where all the merch is, including this tie-dye shirt. Thank you, Lori Feeney, for the super chat. What about Jorge's family? Whoops. What about Jorge's family? I agree. The victim's family, they have rights. It seems like everybody wants to go forward, but again, they don't want to give her any opportunity to appeal based on ineffective assistance of counsel either. So again, that's something you're going to hear us talk about in every case. We want to make sure it's done right. Sandy said, do we actually know if she waived the right to speedy trial? I think that was a question raised on RA Live. Yes, I believe everybody agrees except for Sarah Boone that she has waived the right to speedy trial. I believe the court even said it in the last case. I believe the state has said it. A document was probably filed in the very beginning of her case. I am very confident that, at least in writing, she has waived the right to speedy trial. Maybe she didn't know what she was signing or didn't know what it said, wasn't fully explained all the details of that. But yes, I believe she has waived her right to speedy trial. Sandy, if someone gives up speedy trial, is there a time limit for when it has to be tried? Basically, whatever's fair in the interest of justice. And they can try to demand it later, and they can really push stuff like that and then say that the court's violating it if they're really pushing towards it. But as long as the defense continues to ask for continuances, there's not going to be a good argument that they're violating her speedy trial rights. So it's tough. It's tough. Shelly said she's awaiting her lawyer, shirts. If you get one, shoot me a DM of you wearing it. I love it. I love to see people wearing the shirts. Yes, I did. Gringa said, Peter, you brought a mini heat wave. Yeah, it's like hot today. It's been kind of cool the last couple of days, like night and morning. I like how it's cold here. The weather's pretty great here. Michelle, I am already laughing about how she is going to behave seated next to her attorney when she finally goes to trial. What a hot mess it's going to be. She strikes me as the type of person that's not going to have like major outbursts. I don't think she's going to have outbursts in front of the jury. Maybe we'll get some like eye rollings or scoffs or things like that. I also think during breaks, we may get her wanting to talk to the judge and say things like, Judge, my lawyer won't ask the questions I wanted to ask. He's not making the arguments I wanted to ask, blah, blah, blah. Will she just say, tell him to kick rocks and let me represent myself? I don't know. We'll see. Netwoman, thank you so much for gifting 10 more memberships. King Chris TV, I hope Peter feels stupid for saying all those things about her other lawyers and taking her lies as the truth. I do not, King Chris. I stand behind and feel comfortable with everything I said about the prior lawyers. And I qualify everything with we're not there. But if she was saying it about me and it wasn't true, it would look very different than it looks in this case. I'll just leave that there. A lot of people saying she needs to represent herself. Never. At what point will they make you represent yourself? That's not going to happen. Colleen, I'm hopeful in May. I was saying with this new lawyer, if he does his job well, end of this year, I feel pretty good about that. It seems like the court wants it to be done in May. If we can get, her further funding, get her expert, and let's get this thing moving, I think it is possible for it to happen in May. I do. Laura, yes. If we hooked him up to a lie detector, I think he's very happy to be done with this case. Haley Wolf, I don't really know if she's trying to strike up appellate issues, honestly. I think she wants somebody to hold her hand throughout the case, talk to her every single day, and she's going to complain until she gets that. Yes, being present does give her the opportunity to talk to her lawyer. Yes, and I think that's valid. Jessica, I do not. I'll ask my wife. She got it for me for Christmas this year. Yes, I would too. And I hope we hear it. I hope he says, Judge, that's not true. I met with her in court. We talked for 3 hours and we talked about everything we were going to do in those 3 hours. And all of that stuff hasn't come to fruition. I told her I was going to file the motion to continue. I told her I was going to try to get more funding. I told her we were going to try to put these defenses together. I told her we were going to try to get these experts. And we haven't completed that yet. So until I complete that, there's no reason to go have another 3-hour meeting. We'll see. Judge Wooten just rotated off. It's very normal in Florida. They can't make her go to trial because her lawyer's saying he's not ready. So making her go to trial is actually bad for her. So they're protecting her from herself is a way to look at it. Yes, he wasn't at the hearing. And again, the reason was he knew it was going to get continued. So I don't think it's a big deal that he wasn't at that hearing. But if she wanted to be there and she wanted him to be there, then he should have been there. But it's not a big deal if you file a motion to continue. The state doesn't object to it. The judge is going to let you continue it. A little bit weird if you don't want to be there to pick the trial date, but I don't see a huge problem with that. Specifically that. I don't see any grounds for her being released on a technicality. Joanne, so I could be off, but I feel her narcissism is shining through because it's on YouTube, but camera's not her. That's not a bad point. That could be true. Netwoman, what was the reasoning behind a change in the judge? I believe he just rotated off. Just a normal rotation. They can rotate between divisions, go from like criminal to family or to civil or probate, and they just kind of rotate around. Ashley, how often should her lawyer be talking to her? I mean, if she really wants her handheld and really wants to talk about discovery, once a month is fair and fine. More often than that, if you're supposed to prep for trial and you've only talked to her once and you have 4 months not to prep for trial, you should probably talk to her more than once a month. But I can understand why you're not talking to her every single day if you've told her, here are the motions I'm going to file, here's what I'm going to try to do. And until that's done, we don't really need to talk every day. So definitely more than one time in 133 days, but probably not as often as she would like. Doesn't it basically start from square one every time she gets a new counsel? Unfortunately, yes. That's the trouble. That's really the trouble. Annie K, do judges share with one another so the new judge is clear about Sarah's past behavior? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I've had judges tell me, oh, yeah, I'm going to tell them about this case. Sometimes my case, they're like, oh, I'm going to let judge so-and-so know to look out for this one. It's like, good. I'm glad they do. Because if it's a tough case, it's convoluted, it's complex. Also, we got to switch judge. That sucks. So please give them a heads up. I had one case in particular back in the day that when it would switch to judges, he's like, I know all about this one. And that was usually good for us because it was the other side that was miserable. But our life made our life miserable too. I have not seen a ruling come down if she got the extra funding or if she's going to get that if she won that motion. Carmel, yes. The state pays for her lawyer to talk to her. All right. That's it. That's what we came to do. We came, we saw, we conquered. Some more content coming from LA. Thank you guys for jumping on here last minute. 4,000 people in the chat. That's wild. Hit that like button. Please don't forget to hit that like button and please subscribe. We're still loving all of the new subscribers, all the new voices, questions, comments, no matter what they are. If you got questions, you got disagreements, you got, what's going on with this? What's going on with that? It's maybe a dumb question. Never a dumb. Actually, there are dumb questions, but I don't mind answering dumb questions because guess what? If you don't know, if you're ignorant to the situation, who cares if you ask a dumb question? If it's a question you have and it needs to be answered, that's fine. I ask dumb questions all the time. Like there are certain people, like if I'm talking to my accountant or my financial planner, I'm like, I'm dumb when it comes to this. Explain it to me like I'm 5. That's what I say to people all the time. And I like it. So bring them. Bring whatever questions you have because the chances are if you have that question, somebody else does too. I appreciate you guys so much. Until next time, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching another episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the thumbs up and share with your friends who may be interested here on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. And don't forget to check out the Lawyer You Know podcast with new seasons dropping every quarter. If you have a case you want to talk to us about, if it's a personal injury case, wrongful death, catastrophic injury, car accident, or slip and fall case, please email us at lawyeryouknow@gmail.com. And of course, all these links I just mentioned are included in the description below on this episode and every episode. So until next time, this is Peter Tragos, The Lawyer You Know.